We're here, Howard. It's
We
nice to
are.
finally meet you. It's
And
also
you, sir.
nice. Thank you so much. It's nice to have another comic on. You know,
Hey.
yeah, it's so
Well,
nice.
there's not many of us.
Not a lot. Uh, uh, there's a lot where I am, at least. Like I'm in New England,
Right. Yeah.
and
Oh,
there's
really?
a stupid amount of comedians. Where you're in the UK currently, right?
Yes, I didn't mean comedians though. I meant, sorry, I had a little conversation in my own head, and what I heard was a fellow metaler who is a comedian,
Oh,
of
yeah.
which
Not
there
a
are, yeah,
dying
not
breed.
many.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be crazy if there was a ton of us in New England. No, I think
Yeah.
Don Jameson is in New England though. So
Right.
that's like the
Okay.
the one other one, but
Yeah, the thing is about Don Jameson is that I can't ever get past the name because it just sounds like a fucking drink.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have a Don Jameson.
On
Okay.
ice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. On the rocks? No, in a glass.
Yeah. Put on my tab.
Yes.
Well, this
um,
is cool, man. It's nice talking to you. So it's cool. I used to do stuff with comics all the time, and then I just started doing interviews with artists. So this is a
right.
nice, blend now where
Yeah.
acid rain, of course, and talking bollocks we'll get into, but
Oh,
like we
cool.
also have this comedy side as well, which is really cool. So when did you start doing stand-up?
Well, I started in when you were a little boy in 1995. Um, and I moved to London in '94, did my first gig in '95, and I carried on for about 6 years, and then I stopped for 5 years. I did some writing for TV, a couple of appearances, did a regular sketch on a sports show
Wow.
every week for about oh god about 18 weeks, and that was on a an up and coming BBC digital channel, which was called BBC Choice at the time and is now BBC Three, but it was early days of digital. um so I did that for a while, and then me and my girlfriend split up. She moved out, and I went back on stage to go and get my tensions out.
Hmm.
And that was, I think that was 2006, and I've been back ever since. But I did 3 months as me, and then I went, yeah, fuck this. And I'd in the intervening years, I'd come up with a character called Keith Platt, who is Keith Platt, professional Yorkshireman, and which is a character that I've been doing since 2006. Christ, didn't realize it was that
Wow.
long. And so he is he's who I do sets as, but I also MC shows, and I MC shows as me, and I do spoken word as well. So I've got a 90-minute secret history of thrash metal spoken word, which is a lovely place to be, as I'm sure you'd appreciate, because you can take your time. People aren't there for the gags. Gags are a bonus. They're here for the stories. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
what a fucking gorgeous place to be, that when you're halfway through a story, your comedy brain goes, oh, they haven't laughed for a bit. And the other part of your brain goes, it's not stand up, dick. Yeah. And you can continue to tell it. But obviously, I craft them as, gag heavy as I can where appropriate. And there's some funny stories in there. But it's a lovely place to be, because you, like I say, you really get to spend your time digging into a story and giving people all the details. And like I said, they're not there for the gags, they're there for the stories. So it's gags are a bonus, which is, so I love doing that. um and I MC shows, comedy shows as myself, so
Cool.
that's pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Because you don't have to like worry about bombing, if you're just doing like a spoken word thing. It's like, oh my
Oh,
God, I haven't got a laugh in it. Well, it's like, no,
yeah.
you're not supposed to, you can
To be
just, it's
fair,
freelance speaking.
yeah, but to be fair, I've been a stand-up now, well, let's see, six. I don't right. So it's 17 years. So I've been in stand up for 23 years.
Wow.
I stopped worrying about bombing a long time ago.
Yeah, fair enough, man.
Yeah. Otherwise I wouldn't still be doing this.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's well, you have
Um,
quite a history because we got Acid Rain on top of that. You know, you're doing spoken word, and I didn't know you were like a writer too. Like you were working with like TV shows. You were saying,
to be honest, that was a period of my life when I was doing that. But I was working with two other guys who, funnily enough, were both stand-ups at the time. Stand-ups at the time. They've gone on to do other things. But we do a football podcast together called The Reducer, and we get together every week and just so we've known each other for like 25, 30 years. We met on the circuit. So it's that they were who I wrote with for a time. And funnily enough, the character of Keith Platt I came up with on holiday when I was on holiday with one of them, and we wrote several episodes of a sitcom for him called Platt's Life, and never really took. But yeah, when I got back on the circuit, I did about 3 months as me and realized, middle class white guy in his mid 30s. There's so many of us. One gig I did, there was like six guys on the bill. We were all white, middle class, mid 30s, all had something on the breakup of a relationship. And I was just like, yeah, fuck this noise, Jack. Yeah. So and that's when Keith came out the cupboard. Who like I said, I had a load of stuff. But the thing is, and what's important about the character of Keith is because people confuse it with acting. It's not. If I was an actor, I'd have a bunch of fucking characters. I wouldn't have been doing one all this time.
yeah,
Yeah. So it's I do a comedy course called Stand Up Dressed Up, which is what I consider Keith to be.
cool.
It's me dressed up as a character and performing as a character, but I'm doing stand up. It's not like entering the world of Keith Platt, and no, it's
Yeah,
gags. But so when I initially started doing the character, I just took the material I was doing anyway as me, and I just did it now as a grumpy old Yorkshireman, and it just the material was funny anyway, but it put a twist on it because of the juxtaposition now of this material coming from somebody that the material doesn't match with, makes it even funnier.
yeah,
Instead of
totally.
being jarring and people going like, well, an old man wouldn't speak like this. It's instead it's just funnier, basically.
Yeah,
um
well, that's also like just the misdirection of it as well, where it's like you think that
yeah.
material is supposed to come out of someone else, but it's which is why I like characters, and I know a couple people who do characters, and I think it's really cool. It doesn't take this insane amount of like method acting to
No,
do it,
no,
as you
not
were
at all.
saying. It's just a fun thing, and that's cool. So you're like teaching a course.
And I know I just have a course that I do occasionally when people ask me to do it. And it's it, like I said, it's stand up dressed up. It's about you know it's about having strong gags, and you write as yourself, and a decent character should be a facet of your personality that is blown up for comic effect, and that's exactly what Keith is. He's my I'm originally from Yorkshire. He's my kind of angry anti-hero, really. But being a character, I can tell you now, the weird thing is I get away with so much more. I mean, if I try to pull off half the stuff that I do as Keith, I get punched in the mouth, basically. It's the only thing that's stopping me ditching the character and just doing it as myself. Um, that's the only thing that's stopping me, really, because you just get so much latitude from the crowd, because you get to push the boundaries, because this person doesn't actually really exist, and the person that does appears to be really old. So old people kind of get a pass anyway. Not that
Yeah.
not that I'm like, up there being overtly misogynistic or racist or anything.
Yeah.
But I'm able to, get really close to the
A
bone
little
and say some
controversial.
fairly, yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it kind of doesn't matter. And I mean, once, occasionally, and because of the character of Keith as well, people, don't really heckle either because they're not that fucking stupid.
Yeah. Do you deal with that at all? Like hecklers and stuff a lot? Because
Um,
it's bad here.
Not often, not
Not that
often.
it's a regional
I, well, no, but British people are obsessed with. I mean, as soon as people find out you're a comedian, they want to tell you. They usually say these things. They say, "Oh, they tell you about their mate who's really funny, who should be a comedian."
happens here all the time.
Yeah, they offer you material, and they just ask you. They go straight in for the tell us a joke then, and the responses are, "Pay me." Um, and as for all the rest of it, yeah, it's just tedious. And oh, sorry, the other thing, of course, people always ask about hecklers. Oh, what about hecklers then? What about hecklers? And I always think it's weird. It's like, so the first thing you do when you meet a real comedian is ask them about members of the public. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that. You've got a chance to ask me a question about being a comedian. I mean, that seems like a waste of one, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say though, there's some very interesting because a lot of people can't actually like handle hecklers. And there's almost like a science and an art to it. If you really break it down, like there's the obvious, like, fuck off. You know what I
Mm,
mean? But like
yeah.
I've had to dive into people because the thing is like being a metalhead. Like I talk about it on
Oh, right. Yeah.
stage.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then you have
Yeah.
some fucking guy going like, what metal are you into? Or some stupid thing. And you go
Yeah.
down this rabbit hole with them. I've had several things where that has happened. So you have to have like things in the chamber. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
don't know.
I
Like
mean,
it's bad here. Like I'm in Boston and
yeah, but
people
I
are
mean,
just brutal here.
well, look, I've been to comedy clubs in the States, and frankly, um, they're a fucking disgrace. That, like, every single one of them I've ever been in is shit. The audiences are shit. They are there, dance monkey boy. There is absolutely no respect for the art, for the performer, for the environment. There's no contract. They haven't bought a ticket to see comedy. They bought a ticket to eat and get drunk and have somebody make them laugh occasionally when they can be bothered to listen. It's like the model is so different over here.
Well,
Like
that's
over
what's
here.
so interesting to me. You know what I mean? Because it's like for here, it's Wild West. No matter where you are
Oh,
in the country, you know what I mean? It's a bar trick.
here, here, it's no heckling. And this bit you are going to love. The bar, believe it or not, this might sound weird to you, but to me, it seems quite fucking obvious. During the performance, the bar is closed
Wow,
always.
that is unheard of here.
Well,
Wow.
people will be getting up, getting down. Oh, how many? Do you want
Yeah,
a drink?
it's
How many?
awful. Yeah,
It's fucking terrible. Also, it's like it's not only terrible for you, but now everyone around that person, probably about 10 people now, are lost in whatever part of the gag you were on. That's fucked. They're
yeah.
they're disengaged, so they're going to have a little chat amongst themselves until you do a new gag because they've missed. They're out of sync now.
Yeah, and it's awful. It's terrible because it's
It's
not only
fucking whack a
here.
mole.
Listen, man, here it's not even just like the bar's open. Like there's
Oh yeah,
waiters
it's
going
table
around.
service. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's table service. It's food. It's fucking everything. It's like I said, I wasn't holding back. They're a fucking disgrace.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I
Damn,
mean,
you have it
it's
so good over there. It's
absolutely, mate. That's why
awful.
there's so many of that's why there's so many fucking American comedians over here.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's unbelievable. It really is. Yeah, yeah. I mean, oh man, you'd love it over here. You'd love it. You
Oh
you
yeah,
would
man.
freak out at first. You'd freak out because you might think you were well, we call it dying. You call it bombing. Um,
Okay.
and I'll go into my definition of why we call it dying. But you might mistake the lack of audience interference for not going down very well. It's like, why, you know what I mean? It'd be like,
Yeah.
why are they not engaged in my act? And it's like, well, over here, the audience show their engagement in your act by laughing. That's it.
Yeah. What a crazy concept.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
a
Exactly. Now, don't get
comedian.
me wrong. We're not perfect. We are the country that, brought the world football violence. And we do have comedy shows that go off the fucking rails, and we have horrific comedy clubs where it's stag do's and hen do's, and they turn up and they take the audience over, and you're on stage. It's like a social experiment,
Yeah, well, it's
but
better.
that going in, and you get paid a premium for doing that shit. It's considered going above and beyond. So you get paid more.
Wow.
Well, they have to pay
That's
more because there's loads of comics who won't do it.
yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I know,
insane,
right?
man. I'm pretty sure that's why like even like Bill Hicks moved over there. If you're
Yeah,
familiar,
yeah.
he was
Oh,
like an
absolutely.
Austin
Yeah,
comic.
yeah, yeah. And I
And then
mean,
he went
well, he's
overseas and had great success.
there's one of his specials is brilliant when it's one of his CDs when he's talking about he's playing some fucking shithole in the arse end of somewhere, and or rather the arse end of nowhere, and he says, like, 2 nights ago I was playing, I headlined a sold out theatre in Dublin. It's like 900 years old or something like that, and
Yeah.
he was just talking all about it and how beautiful it was, and he went, anyway, good to be here.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
Yeah.
it's such a Bill Hicks
Yeah.
opening.
No,
But
I love his
yeah,
special Sane Man. It's like an hour
yes,
and a half. It's just all his
yeah,
material. It's so good,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, I had that on a
Cool.
bootleg. I bought that on US VHS and had it posted to me. You
Wow.
know, I think that was probably even pre-internet. I mean, it's fucking years ago. I mean, now it's on Netflix, which freaks me the fuck out.
Yeah, it was almost like this underground cult classic. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh no, absolutely. It's like Slayer's last ever live performance suddenly
Yeah.
being on Netflix.
Yeah.
It makes that much sense.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck happened here? This is not for you.
Yeah.
Get this off.
Like Matt Rife
um,
and stuff. You got Bill Hicks.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
It's
now
crazy.
before I forget, I must jump back to the difference. Well, you call it bombing, we call it dying. Now, this
Yes.
is my personal belief: is that or alternatively, I read it somewhere and I've forgotten that, and I'm now spouting it as my own in case it's out there already. But it's called dying because the audience go through the grieving process. So it, initially, disbelief. Fuck me, he can't be shit. He can't be this shit. Bargaining. That was all right. Maybe this is going to be okay. You know. Um, and then it's acceptance. Oh, we're fucked. Yeah, we're fucked. He is shit. And then it's anger. I fucking paid for this, mate, and you're shit. That's why it's called dying.
Wow. There's so many layers to that. Or here it's bombing. It's just, well, you sucked,
Yeah, yeah, no,
There's
yeah,
no
but don't you think the description of the two is absolutely right there? Two countries separated by the same language. That what we call it and why we call it. It's like, and you call it bombing because you sucked.
Yeah, yeah, so interesting. Yeah,
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 yeah.
very accurate.
Comedy cultural exchange.
I know. Wow, it's so cool to learn about like what's going on over there with the comedy scene and just how the mannerisms and stuff. It is brutal over here. But it's cool you're
Yeah, it's
doing
very
this.
good.
You've done so much with your voice in your life, and also
Yeah.
Acid Rain, being a singer and stuff. There is so much going on with that. When did you like realize you wanted to like sing and really like be a singer?
Well, primary school, I was in a choir and I did 2 solos. I was in a choir for 1 term, and I think that might be a semester. I'm not sure, but and we did 2 concerts, and I did a solo in both. There was another kid who did like 3 or 4. He was brilliant, but I was like, I was in there, so I knew I could sing. Okay, and then I discovered metal, and then I discovered thrash, and being I didn't know it at the time, but being an artist, being a creator, listening to the music to the point of obsession, still not enough. Gonna have to make it myself and get the next level buzz, because it's got to be done. So I knew I could sing. Gaz, who ended up in Acid Rain, took me to a one rehearsal of a band called Snakebite, sang a few songs, went all right, didn't have a drummer, but it was okay. It was in a barn, and it was quite hot. And following day at school, I said, so what did you guys think? And Gaz was like, well, you're the first singer we've ever had who's actually sung. I was like, what? He said, yeah, we've had 3 guys down before. He said, I'm just not feeling it. I said, fucking hell, that's weird. So that was a good start. Unfortunately, the next day I found out that the band I hadn't actually joined yet had broken up.
Oh.
And then me and a couple of guys went, yeah, let's start a band. And that's what, well, I genuinely think it was kind of my idea. And I got these people together, and we started out, and it was the embryonic, well, it's basically what went on to become Acid Rain, a few lineup changes along the way. And we just went from strength to strength. The weird thing is that when we got around to doing our first gig, we had already signed a record deal, recorded our debut album, and signed a management deal. So
Wow.
Yeah, the album wasn't out yet, but the reason for that is because much like, right, we lived in mostly around the sort of Harrogate, Wetherby, Knaresborough area in Yorkshire. So think of that as Texas. Sorry, think of that. Think of that as Texas, because Yorkshire and Texas are interchangeable. Everyone in Yorkshire thinks it's the best place in the fucking world, and they've never been anywhere else. So it's Texas.
Yeah.
So we're playing in a small town in Texas, right? But we're not. We're in Yorkshire. We're in Harrogate. So you can imagine there is no fucking live scene. There are no gigs. There is no circuit. So what? And certainly, like, we're playing thrash metal. I mean, there isn't any British thrash metal bands yet.
Yeah.
So who's going to give a British thrash metal band a gig? So anyway, what that meant is that every time we got together once a week to rehearse, we would play our own stuff, and then we would drop stuff as we got bored of it and didn't like it, and wrote better stuff. And so we ended up just honing our songwriting skills, because there was no gigs, there was nowhere to play, so all we could do was write. And so that, I think that's why, we recorded a demo when we were all kind of like 16, and signed a record deal when we were 17, because it was good quality. But then again, also, even though those tender years, and I still don't know how, but I came up with the idea of spending half the money that I'd got together from my mum and dad. I basically pitched them, and they'd gone, right, okay. My mum knew a bit about the music because I played her bits of Metallica and stuff, so she knew it wasn't shit. And I took half the money, and we recorded the Moshkinstein demo, and I used half the money to package it as well, because my theory was, in my head, I could imagine an A&R man with a desk covered in C90 tapes, and just thinking, oh, fucking hell. And I could, and then I could picture one on that pile with a full color cover that's all labeled up and looks like it's already signed. What's that doing there? They must have already have a deal. What the fuck's that? And that's, believe it or not, exactly what happened. We were the
Wow.
only, and we were the only band that the label ever signed in its history from an unsolicited approach.
Wow.
An unsolicited demo tape. We were the only band they ever signed.
That's insane.
It's way rarer than you think in the music industry.
I bet.
And send
I've never heard of that.
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, well, certainly, like, you know, back in the day, it was. I mean, it's
Like
slightly
it's
different now.
happened. I know, but like, especially the specifics of your scenario, being like,
Yeah,
no one's heard of a British thrash metal band, there were so many things, you were going against, but that's awesome. Wow.
yeah. It was
So you
cool.
guys must have just been, so pumped and especially in writing, and the
Oh man,
motivation
yeah.
probably was
Well,
there.
we got we signed to the label that we wanted to. We signed to Music for Nations. We signed to the same label as Metallica, Possessed, Death, Anthrax. You fucking name it. We've been label mates with Joe Satriani and Frank Zappa, for fuck's sake.
Insane.
Yeah. I remember walking into Martin Hooker, God rest his soul. I don't know why I said that. I don't believe in God. I'm an atheist, but poor bloke. Yeah,
Yeah. Poor guy.
fuck you, God, for taking him too early. Actually, if I don't believe him, I can't. Yeah. Anyway, him, her, it, whatever.
Yeah, this
So,
podcast is called Disturbing the Priest, so
yeah,
very
good.
fitting.
I hope it does. If there are any
Yeah.
listening, you're wasting your life.
Yes.
It's the only one you're actually going to have. So, fuck me. Where were we?
Music for Nations, the
Music for
motivation.
Nations. Martin
Yes.
Hooker. I walked into Martin Hooker's office, and he said, "Oh, all right. I'm pleased to see you." I said, "Oh, are you? Why's that?" He said, "Because I've just signed a check to Frank Zappa." And I was like, "Oh, right." He said, "Yeah, royalties, £1.5 million." And I was like, "Wow." He said, "Yeah, but I'm pleased to see you because I've got to write a check for you later, and it's a lot less." um,
Wow.
but yeah, he was a
Both
top
ends of
bloke.
the
I mean, he
spectrum.
well, without him, there'd be no Twisted Sister. Some would say that's a good thing. I don't. Fucking love Twisted Sister. Dee Schneider, total legend.
Totally.
And he was the dude. And Master of Puppets would have sounded very fucking different because Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning was selling in Europe, and so the investment and the push in Master of Puppets initially came from Music for Nations because they had it for UK and whole Europe.
Wow.
So they were a big fucking deal. I mean, I went to Martin Hooker's funeral, and there was a message read out from Lars, who was absolutely gutted that he couldn't that he couldn't make it.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
Do
you want to know something
Twisted
even more
Sister.
insane?
What?
Something even more insane.
Let me hear it.
I was the only recording artist that he ever signed who was at his funeral.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
I know.
Jesus. Where, if you don't mind me asking, where was it?
Well, you should ask that. I still have this on a shelf, which is the Martin in Celebration, picture of him hugging a horse. And played out with These Are the Days of Our Lives. And it was a special request from Martin that we all join in and try and sing These Are the Days of Our Lives, which of course we all just bawled our eyes out.
Wow.
And it was it was awesome. It really was. But unfortunately, no address. I can't remember.
No worries.
Somewhere I've never been before, and I doubt I'll ever go again. But yeah.
That
was
what an interesting story. Because
oh mate,
I had no idea.
oh
That's so crazy.
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, Music for Nations were a real big, real big hitters in the back of the day. Martin was a real player, and yeah, he sunk a lot of money into Acid Rain, and I have to say, he got fucking hardly any of it back.
Hmm.
This is the thing about record companies, right? Our record company, fucking cool. Never had an argument with them. Nothing. At the worst of the end of our first career, I rang Jem Howard in the morning and I said, look, I found a bunch of old demos and master tapes of outtakes and shit like that. I said, I reckon there's about an album here. And he said, really? I said, yeah. He said, all right, leave me with it and I'll come back to you. I said, all right. And he came back to me that afternoon and he said, right, I've had a chat with Martin. And yeah, we're up for it. But on one condition. I was like, oh, what's that? And he goes, you've got to call it The Worst of Acid Rain. And I went, fucking bang on. And that was it. And he goes, I suppose you want an advance of some sort, don't you? And I went, yeah, a couple of grand would be nice. He's like, all right, okay. Done.
Wow.
That is how that was about a 5-hour period, but a total time on the telephone, yeah, less than 10 minutes probably.
Wow.
And
It's
that,
crazy.
and that's how they used to roll, I mean, and like I said, when we left, they were at least, I think, about 80,000-90,000 pounds down on Acid Rain, and that's fucking 1992 money,
Mm.
so that's a lot more now. And we got the rights and our masters back 10 years later in the contract. They didn't own you for fucking life. None of that. They owned your copyright and were able to, market it and exploit it any way they see fit for 10 years only. And then it all reverts back to us. And that's why I've been able to do all of the remasters over the years, and then the final remasters and final remasters, because we owned it, which we don't now. We have now sold all of our rights because we were made an offer that was just too good to refuse. So
Yeah.
we went, yep. I mean,
that's so crazy. You hear it, like, and I've talked to enough bands at this point where you talk to bands in the 70s and 80s, and it's all about like the label and how much power and control they have on a band. And talking to some bands now, like even bands that are just starting out now, they're like, oh my God, the label's been so encouraging and welcoming and like letting us do whatever we want. It's like, wow,
Well, we'd give them a finished album. We might get a phone call when we're in the studio. How's it going? Yeah, good. When do you think it'll be finished? Yeah, we're on time. All right. Well, don't drag on. It'll be more money. Yeah, all right. It's your money. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's
well,
it.
it's very lucky.
That's
a
great. That was the
great label to
extent of
have.
the label's interference. But also, even at that age, I had a cousin in the music industry, so I got in touch with him, and who put me in touch with a lawyer, and that lawyer negotiated our deal. Well, why do they say, always get a good lawyer? Here's why you get a good lawyer. Was he expensive? Yeah. Even back then, he was about 5 grand. But he put 35 grand more into the deal for us than there was initially. So do the fucking math, or as we'd say over here, maths.
Wow.
It was so yeah, it was, I mean, they were great to deal with, good laugh. I mean, I've been to 2 or 3 weddings. I'm still friends with people from there. I did a podcast with Liam from Music for Nations, which will be coming out in a few weeks. So yeah.
I did say in the email, I'm like, they're usually 20 to 30 minutes, but the thing is, you're the first like comic I've had on. So
it's cool, man.
Of course, we're going to talk about comedy for like 40 minutes, but
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and the weird thing is, I was thinking about it actually. I was kind of looking back on when we were going to do part 2, and you were like, right, we'll do the podcast and the band and stuff. I was like, you know what? What was weird was you asked me a lot of questions and I volunteered a lot of information, but I didn't really get to find out much about your, forgive the phrase, comedy journey. And what part of it you're on at the moment and what your goals and aspirations are. And I'm aware that, yeah, you're the interviewer, I know how this works. I've been podcasting for a decade, but by the same token, it's kind of like, I can't help but feel rude. Do you know what I mean? It's like when someone says, "Hey, how's it going comedy wise?" You go, "You know how it is." You go like blah blah, and then you say, "And how's it going with you?" And you go, "Well, it is, and these guys are fucking won't pay me, and this guy, is fucking he's an idiot." And do you know what I mean? So it's like we had that comedy conversation, but I felt like we only had one half of it. So how's it going, dude?
Well, it's going good, Howard, and it's nice that maybe this can be the episode, where I just talk about comedy.
And everyone's like, Jesus, when are they going to get to music?
Yeah. No, I think last time, because I have a few questions right now I'm curious about. I think we only talked about stand-up. I think we talked about the label a little bit, but that's about it.
Yeah, sure.
All right, here's a little peek of US stand-up comedy. All right. So it's been good. Let me tell you about a certain gig. All right. I feel like this is a good podcast story right here.
Right. Okay.
So there's this place in Rhode Island called Woonsocket. Woonsocket is probably the absolute worst town. It is just the amount of gunshots you hear. There's an open mic I used to do, and I started at called Rick's Bar and Grill.
So hang on, can I just establish the place is called Woonsocket?
Woonsocket, yeah, WOON socket.
Oh, right. I thought you meant wound, as in like I'm wounded.
that'd be pretty fitting.
Death metal
actually.
band.
Yeah,
that'd be dead. I mean, yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? It's like you form a band and you live in Woonsocket. You've got no choice than to be death metal.
You have to be death metal at that point.
Yeah,
Woonsocket.
Yeah,
but no, this place, it might as well have been called Woonsocket.
Right.
Because the amount of gunshots you hear, the chaos, the mayhem. There was this open mic I started at that was at Rick's Bar and Grill, which was a biker bar, and it was outside. So it was the only time when your set would be disrupted by someone probably getting shot a few miles down the street,
Heckled by gunshots, heckled by distant gunshot echoes.
Welcome to America.
Fuck it. I hope you missed.
Yeah. And when I first started there, I'm like, wow, they're shooting off a lot of fireworks, and I had people going like, no, it's lives they're shooting. But no, I remember. So this is the mic I started at. All right, and I like to call it trial by fire. You know what I mean? Literally. It was a biker bar as well. So you'd be on stage, and the stage is just some plank,
it's not a stage, is it? It's not really what I like is when you do a gig and there is no stage, and the MC says, "Please welcome to the stage," and you're like, "You're welcome to the corner of the fucking room."
Yeah. Exactly. But, actually did a gig like that last night, funny enough.
Well, and hopefully they've closed the curtains behind you, but there's every chance they haven't, so everyone's distracted as fuck as people walk past behind you.
There's a sports game right behind you.
Yeah, brilliant. Just what you need.
Exactly. Yeah. But so there's this mic, all right, Rick's, and it's a biker bar. So while you're performing, there's tables of people in denim, not the cool metal kind of vest, but gang vest. They're just like, smoking cigarettes, like whittling stuff with knives. I'm like, what era of history am I in right now? Because I'm trying to just tell dick jokes, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
So I used to go to this mic. It was so brutal. There was this one time where it was inside. And inside, you're playing right in front, right behind the pool table. So there's a pool game going right in front of you. Every comic, is just right in front of a pool game. I did a comedy competition, and I did extremely well.
Comedy is something that can be judged.
Of course, yeah. Especially
right.
If it's like one of those audience applause ones too, where it's like, come on.
It's a competition / who brought the most friends.
It's a bringer competition. Yeah, it's so stupid. But I after the competition, I was feeling pretty good, did pretty well in the competition. I'm gonna go to Rick's, and try some new stuff. So I go to Rick's and people are it's rough. It's rough in there,
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do my tight five.
Yeah.
So I get up, no one's looking at me. They're playing music. Music's going on now. There's a pool game. People are talking. I get off stage. I don't think one person looked at me the entire night, so
Yeah.
I'm feeling rough. I'm outside, like hanging out with a few comics because a lot of them are smoking cigarettes. People in the audience start coming out. One guy comes out and he goes, yeah, I just want to be the one to tell you this, but you don't have it.
Brilliant.
I'm like, oof. And then I had other people coming out saying, hey, man, I want to give you advice, and
Yeah.
people are just shit faced.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever, dude. So it's rough. But the thing is, those are the shows and mics you need to do to be almost knighted, I feel, as a comedian. You need to, because I was driving home that night being like, if I don't quit comedy tonight,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, it's like I've always had this, people say the same over here. Because like I said, especially coming up, not the kind of circuit I'm on now, but they're like, coming up, yeah, you've got rough gigs. Yeah, there's going to be, there's going to be abuse. When you're doing free shows, like for a start, a free show is not a comedy show. End of story. The audience haven't paid. They may well not have even known that there's any comedy going on. So that's not a comedy gig. Comedy gig is people pay money to see comedian. It's not people go to a bar and there happens to be a comedian in the corner of the room. That's not a comedy gig, right? That's a
Yeah.
pub with a guy telling jokes in the corner. And that's not a comedy gig. So what are you learning? When are you playing that venue? What
Yeah.
you're learning to what? To perform to people who aren't looking, aren't interested, didn't know you were there, and haven't paid to get in. When are you ever playing to that crowd again? Oh, that's right. Next week at the same fucking venue.
Yeah.
What are you learning? What are you learning? You're not even learning if your stuff's funny or not because no one's fucking listening. So what is it that you're learning? Nothing. Some gigs are so bad, it's just a social experiment. It's just like, oh, right, this is fucked.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes especially and you still get these gigs when you might still get occasional gig where we rock up and you go like, what the fuck is going on here? What? And you turn out and you have a word with the promoter and the promoter turns out he's not a promoter, he's just somebody who runs it. They've never done a comedy gig before, and you give them a little bit of advice like maybe not that and maybe move that and don't have that going on and stuff like that. But there comes a point where you go, but this is also fucked no matter what we do.
Yeah.
I had one of these recently, and it's just a paid rehearsal. That's all it is. It's just a paid rehearsal. You end up doing the gig to like 3 people who are enjoying it, and like other people who don't know what's going on. I love that story there where you're like, audience members coming out and giving you advice, and it's like so do you mind if I give you advice? Do you mind if I ask you a question first? Yeah. Have you ever performed stand-up comedy? No. Have you ever written? Have you ever written comedy? No. Then with the greatest of respect, your advice is worthless to me. And rather than offend you by just walking off, I'd suggest like go and tell someone who's going to listen or interested. I've been doing this 25 years. I know what's going on. So like, but also it's the arrogance of the audience member that always does my head in, because in 9 times out of 10 they'll be like, huh? well, shouldn't you be paying attention to what audience members say? I mean, we're the to be honest, mate. No, because I don't write comedy for you. It's like no, no. But also, quickest way of getting to the point. Before you offer me advice, what do you do? Oh, I'm a butcher. Okay, great. So if I come into work tomorrow and show you where you're going wrong with your butchering, How's that going to go down with you?
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly. And that's like, and the same thing goes with like heckling as well. You know, and I feel like it's like, imagine if I was at your job, you know, and it was just like shouting shit at you.
yeah,
Like it's just the most rude thing you can do. And then the people who come up to you after and they're like, all my friends say I'm really funny and they say I should be a comedian. You know, it's like, what do you want me to do with that?
great. Here's what I honestly, you get this, and you say, you know, oh yeah, you either hear the, oh, I've got a friend. We keep telling him he should be a comedian. He's just naturally funny. You know those kind of people. You know some people who are just naturally funny. Well, he's naturally funny, and we would just say he should be a comedian. It's like, really, really, get him along to a comedy gig, yeah? Shove him out on stage in front of 200 people who spent £20 each to get in and be made laugh, and watch him be fucking shit.
Yeah.
You think he's funny because you know him. That's it. And so he'll tell you a 10-minute story with a gag at the end that you think is absolutely amazing. But unbeknownst to you, people who don't know him are going to start fucking, climbing into him after 30 seconds.
Yeah. Like, and listen, man, there's a lot of things I like, you know, like, there's plenty of stuff on this world I like, but there's nothing I like more than being at an open mic and there's a frat group, a group of just frat guys, and they're all there for their one friend who
Yeah.
probably thinks he's the shit, and he goes on stage and just dies such a slow death.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
And he'll,
makes
and
me
he
feel
will.
so good.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen. His friends are in the front row and they're being respectful to everybody else. But as soon as he comes on, they're giving it the life. But also, you've seen the guy who's going to perform, and he is three or four beers in, the worst possible fucking preparation. Oh, do you have a few drinks? I get this. Do you have a few drinks before you go on stage? No. Do you have a few drinks before you go to work? No, but it's not the same, is it? Yes, it is actually. Yes, it is exactly the same. It's
Yeah.
exactly the same. It's like, why would I have drinks? Why would I start getting drunk? I have three things in my armory that mean that I can destroy you lot. That is one, I'm sober. Two, experience. Three, I got a mic. It's not a fair fight. You're fucked. You shout, you're fucked. Because you're gonna. Every heckler usually has at the very, very most, they've got one thing to say that is funny, that they're going to get out. And if somebody cracks, if somebody's got a good heckle, I'm more than happy to stand back and go, well, yeah, check him out. Yeah, that's great. And then you kind of, you deal with it in any way you wish. If he's being a dick, whatever, if he's been funny, but that's it.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's not a fair fight. It's just not. But I it's like the old Bill Burr line, who goes to a comedy show to take jokes seriously. And
Yeah.
And I'd add to that, who goes to a comedy show to shout out in the gap between the setup and the punch?
Yeah.
It's like, and people will shout out. And as my old character, I'm like, look, I've been doing this 40 years, and I have never ever sat writing material and thought this would be a good place to leave a pause to let some drunk cunt shout out. No, that has never happened, And also one of the best heckle put downs I've ever heard, which is so subtle but so like passive aggressive. Frank Skinner, someone shouting out, and just looks at them with this withering look and just goes, "What are the chances of you being funnier than me, mate?"
Yeah.
Fucking none. It's just like, oh,
That's so good, dude. That's awesome. That's a
yeah,
great line. And it's
yeah,
like, talking to hecklers, it's like, listen, man, I've been in this situation before. You haven't. This is
yeah,
very new to you. I know what to do here.
yeah,
It's like just so stupid. There's so many layers of stupidity. You know what I mean? And it's like one of the first hecklers I got was this like just like wine drunk, wasted woman, and like I have a joke about like being a metalhead and stuff, and she's like, what kind of metal are you into? She's not even into metal,
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
her boyfriend is.
Yeah.
So I start, you know, some of these comments you just kind of have to, you know, get her to explain it a little more just so she can realize how stupid it is.
Yeah.
And then once she realizes it, then you can like sink your fangs in and just humiliate her in front of everybody.
Yeah.
That's my favorite heckler to completely dismantle. You know, but when it's just some drunk idiot who just like Freebird or something,
Yeah.
then it's just it's so awful.
Well, I like
Worst.
one of my favorite situations is coming in as a closer and saying to the MC, right, what story's in the audience? You know, who's, you know, and it's like, oh, there's a hen do over there, stag do bachelor party, you know, over there, and you know, so and so there and so and so, right, okay. Oh, and there's this person here and this person there, and it's like, right, okay. And oh, there's this girl here, she's all right. She's like, and she's chatted with all the comedians and just a bit where, and it's like straight away I know she or he, by the way, at this point, but straight away I know the way they're saying it is okay. I know exactly what to do with this person. And so like the MC, they reintroduce you below, and they've pointed them out, and I know who they are, and they haven't been a pain, but they're just working their ticket. They're really they're getting to the point where they're just wearing on people. You know, they're working their ticket. You know, stick a fork in her, she's done, or him. You know, and so as a closer, you just wait because you know they're not going to be able to stop themselves. And you just wait for them to say something or some, and you got to make sure it's the right thing. But as soon as they start totally inappropriately over the top, absolutely fucking hammer them, just like
Yeah.
like, and the audience love it because all of the other comedians have played nice, and the MC, bless him, can't. You know, as an MC, you can't go in that hard on somebody because then at some point the whole audience go, whoa, hang on, because you have to remember a heckler is still part of the audience, and the audience is a whole. It's not them and that one person. They are part of the audience.
Mass.
And yeah, so if you do go too hard, you can alienate everyone. But when it's the end of the night and this person seems to think that they're kind of, you know, part of the show, they're really wearing on everybody. And so when you come on and just go, oh, shut the fuck up, everyone's had enough of you, you cunt. And the whole place just goes, yes, that's what we fucking wanted 2 hours ago. You're our hero. And they're like, what? It's like, oh, fuck. You know, that is my absolute favorite. That really is.
That's amazing. People,
Yeah.
a lot of people surprisingly over here are pretty nice to hecklers. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but you're armed. We're not.
yeah, yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. But so
uh,
dude, we've gone straight in on comedy again.
or yeah, we damn it. Well, it was a good stories though. Good stories. You know,
Absolutely,
I
man.
love talking comedy,
Absolutely.
especially with the you know, being overseas and whatnot. You know, it's
Yeah.
I feel like it's wildly different over here.
Oh mate,
Way
you got to
more outlaw over
yeah, you
here.
got it. Yeah, you got to come over. Well, like I said, like most American comics, the first like few weeks they're here, it's acclimatizing to why are the audience members not trying to kill me? You know, why are they not trying to join in? Why isn't anybody standing up and ordering beers during my act? I'm offended. You know?
I can't even imagine a show with that
Yeah,
without
yeah,
like because I go to every show like, okay, there's probably going to be someone standing right there. You know, there's probably going to be a lot of noise over here. There's probably it's always just, you know, being almost like a crowd control mostly. You know,
yeah.
it's one thing telling jokes, but it's like the main thing like being like, okay, I have to control a room right
Oh,
now.
yeah, yeah. I mean, dude, it's ultimately you crack it as a comic when you learn how to play, when you learn how to read the room, which is what you're learning. You know, which is like, it doesn't matter the size of the venue. It's like you've got to read the room, you've got to read the audience. You know,
Yeah.
and there's a friend of mine, runs an agency, and he's like, keep an eye out for decent acts. And then the only acts like that he wants to hear about, and I'm going to tell him, is people who can read a room, and there's plenty of successful comedians who can't read a room. It's absolutely essential, and has helped in music. Perfect example, right? We did we were due to play Hammerfest about 5-6 years ago, and we got stuck in a huge accident, and the road was shut, and we got stuck on a motorway, and basically they were like, look, your slot's gone. So we had, we spent about 4 or 5 hours on the road to effectively turn around and come back. So we managed to book a secret show. We didn't know we were doing it. We managed to book a show at a metal bar in London, and we put it on the socials, like we're going to be playing in like an hour, because like we've got to get out of this fucking bus and play some music, or we're going to die. So we went down there, we set up. Now, they don't normally have, I think it was a Friday night or a Saturday night, and they wouldn't normally have a band on, but it's like, normally it's local bands. They made an exception because it was us, which is very nice. So we set everything up, and we're about to start the set. And I just said to everybody, just give me 2 minutes on the mic, and then we can start. And those early gigs that I did, where there's no fee, it's a free comedy night, that's it, it's a free comedy night. So people maybe, you might be in a room above a pub, in which case great, but if you're in the pub, there may be people in that room who, unaware there was comedy, not interested in comedy, and you can't have a go at them, for not laughing. They're there to have a beer and chat to their mate. So what you learn, or rather what I learned and then applied as a frontman of a band, is just to turn to the crowd and say, okay, guys, as you might have noticed, we're called Acid Rain because the backdrop went right round the back of the building. It's like covered the entire wall.
Yeah.
So it was our festival backdrop that was now in a pub. And so I just got on the mic and said, hi guys, just to let you know, like, we're Acid Rain, as you may have noticed. And this is what's happened today. We've been stuck on the road. We couldn't get out. So we've turned up here to play some tunes. And I fully appreciate some of you weren't aware of that and are not. And so apologies, but this is what we're going to do. And if you want to hang around and leave after you drink, that's cool. And if you want to get involved, that's cool as well. But I knew from all those years in comedy, we can't just start fucking playing. Do you know what I mean? It's like going on stage. It's like walking on stage and going, so there's 2 guys on a bus, and everyone's like, whoa, who's this cunt?
Yeah.
At least fucking say hello. At least tell us who you are.
Yeah.
And that's and so you apply that to a band situation where you're just rocking up in someone's pub and we're suddenly just gonna kick in and start hammering them. So it was kind of like, it was like, the streams crossed, but it was okay.
Yeah, and it definitely must have helped you, like, as just a front man in general, because that, like, I feel like stand-up is, it's one thing, like, you have to be a singer and you have to know how to do it, but stand-up is such a judgmental art form, so I feel like you, like, doing it as long as you've done it, plus Acid Rain, like, at this point in your career, like, doing both, like, you probably feel so confident.
Well, it's yes, I do. But funnily enough, it was our ex-guitarist Paul, after the first 3 shows we did, like as the new version of Acid Rain, that said to me, your between song game is like levels above what it was back in the day. And it's like, well, to be fair, back in the day, I was just, I was a gobby. I mean, I've never been backwards at coming forward. So I was, back in the day, I was quite amusing, but it was, I was just fucking about. I'd always want, and, whereas now I just kind of knew, like, I just knew what to do, how to manage the situation, how to handle the situation. It's like, if I ever see a slightly oldish photographer, taking pictures. I'll always bring them on stage and say, has somebody lost their dad? He's down here taking pictures if you've lost him. Do you know what I mean? Shit like that.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, yeah, and we've got that kind of, we've got that kind of like vibe about us, not taking ourselves too seriously, except musically. But live, it's live. It's all just like, it's anything goes.
Yeah, I feel like thrash metal has always kind of had like a little sense of humor to it,
Unless you're Slayer, yeah.
Yeah, except like even Metallica with like, metal up your ass with the toilet and the, sword coming out of it.
Yeah.
And there's a few lines in Megadeth that are like, what? Like just pretty
Yeah.
funny,
Yeah, the weird thing about Megadeth is that they've gone from like Peace Cells fucking blew me away when it came out because it was like so many levels above.
So many.
But like even the artwork, as soon as you saw the artwork, you were like, well, that's going to be better than the last album. I don't fucking care. I haven't even got it home yet. We used to have to go out to get music, okay, people? That's just a fucking long time ago. That's just how old I am, right? But as soon as I play it, I was like, wow, this is levels above. And the weird thing about Megadeth is they've gone from being a band that I used to laugh with to being a band that I laugh at. And that's a shame. Mustaine has gone from being, saying, military intelligence, two words together, two words combined that can't make sense.
Yeah.
He's gone from that to let's just fucking bomb everybody. Guns are great.
Yeah.
USA. And it's just like, whoa, dude, fucking hell, what happened here?
Yeah.
You've literally gone from left wing to right wing.
Especially with the new record too. There's songs that like glorify like a lot of military stuff, and it's like whatever, and it's so funny with the current state of Megadeth because we got Dave Ellefson who's left,
who's now busy slagging off Dave more than ever,
who's now in a Kings of Thrash, which has other ex-members of Megadeth in it. There's more almost like original members in that band than Megadeth itself.
Yeah, I know. And do you know what the weird thing is? The weird thing that I cannot get my fucking head around, right? It's like you say all this about Megadeth and Dystopia I liked, but The Sick, the Dying,
Very
and the
good.
Dead for me is just a toilet. Just
oh yeah,
like,
you didn't like Mission to Mars?
Not a fan. No, not a fan. In fact, I'm trying to bring back a phrase to describe their album that I think it's not used enough these days.
Okay.
But the album is dog shit. It's like once upon a time that was the worst thing in the world. That's the worst. Now we have a lot worse things, but once upon a time, dog shit was it, and it's a dog shit album. And there's songs on Dystopia that are worrying. The just lyrically.
Yeah, they're almost foreshadowing.
Yes, yeah. Great point. But what I can't get my head around is that the single person who embodies thrash metal more than any other, the person who is Mr. Thrash Metal, number one, number two, Hetfield, number one, Dave Mustaine. He sings, he plays lead guitar, he has platinum albums. He also has platinum albums with Metallica. He's the front man, he's the singer, he's the lead guitarist, he's the songwriter. He's put out more albums than all of the other bands. It's like, it's undeniable. It is undeniable. I'm not happy about it, but it's undeniable. Yeah. It's just I can't square that circle, basically.
Yeah, and just the revolving door that is that band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
That must say something at least.
Well,
with the amount of, if you look on Metal Archives and hit past members, it's like it's like an alphabetical order. You have to scroll so far. It's like that. That'll hurt any band. You know?
But it's like any other line of business, isn't it? It's like, it's like that guy's a dick to work for. It's like, nobody ever lasts more than 2 years in that job. Yeah, I'll go do my 2 years, and then I'll move on to something else. It's like I don't think anybody's joining Megadeth going, well, that's me set for life. This is the last band I'll ever be in.
Yeah.
Like Dave's gonna wake up one day having fallen asleep on his laptop. He's gonna wake up with QWERTY face, look in the mirror, and go, "Yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna sack everybody."
Yeah. Yeah.
He will.
Yeah.
He will.
And I love Kiko too. I love the modern lineup. But I'll be honest, like with the new album too, like even that song Mission to Mars, I had a friend who's like, is this like a pop punk song? Like Dave just going like, I wanna. Like it's like, what?
Well, have you heard the extra track? Have you heard the Megadeth cover version of Dead Kennedy's Police Truck?
Yes, I have.
Fucking hell, I never want to hear that again.
Really? You hated it?
I'd rather smear shit in my ears than listen to that again.
You probably hated the other one then, even worse, because I couldn't stand the other one. The what was it? It was with
Anarchy in the UK.
Hagar. No, with the Sick, the Dying, and the Dead. There was two bonus tracks.
No, you see, I couldn't. Sammy Hagar ruined Sammy Hagar songs. Yeah. So Dave's welcome to do that. Yeah. But fucking leave the Kennedys alone, man. Just fucking leave it alone. It's like, for a start, right? It's a terrible idea to do a Dead Kennedys cover. It's a terrible idea, no matter who you are. It's a terrible idea. And why? Because you can't replicate the voice.
Jello. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pure personality. It's not a melody line. He's never sung a melody line in his life. It's all personality. And, and also the other thing as well is about the Kennedys musically. Musically, Kennedys are a limp wrist band. It's jangly guitar. Well, the minute you give it to a thrash band who are going to riff it, you've completely changed how that song is interpreted and meant to be played, which is fine. But then you've either got to take it off in a completely different place and just do something different with it, or you've got to ape it or don't bother.
Yeah.
It's. Yeah, I mean, it's just you're on a hiding to nothing covering a Dead Kennedys song.
Just an interesting cover as well, because I feel like the new record is a little bit authoritarian and like, very, and then to have a police truck on there, it's like, it's like, what are your beliefs?
Yeah, I know. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, it is really weird. I was shocked to see, because like Dead Kennedys are like one of my favorite bands of all time. I love all their records. And when I saw that, I'm like, whoa, that was just so shocking, because I guess it kind of does make sense, because like Ellefson did have the like famous Dead Kennedys bumper sticker, on his bass or whatever, but he wasn't even in the band anymore. So
I know it's embarrassing, but hey, fuck it. We've ended up wormholing on Megadeth for some reason.
Jesus Christ! All right, Acid Rain.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Right. Not nearly as popular as Megadeth, but none of us have been caught wanking in front of teenagers online.
Yeah, which is a huge.
Yeah, it's a huge bonus. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about an Acid Rain record, The Fear.
Oh, good Lord, you've gone back to 1989. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. Let's go back. So what do you remember about the writing and recording process of this record?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we were still in our asbestos village hall, which was eventually knocked down because we didn't get, none of us got cancer that we were aware of, but yeah. The entire village hall that we used to rehearse in was made of asbestos. It didn't have an asbestos roof. It had asbestos walls, asbestos roof, asbestos door, the fucking lot.
Jesus.
So I know, yeah, it's scary, right? But then we record the album in Blue Strike Studios, which was underneath a funeral director's. So whenever you hear noise above, it would be him like hauling bodies and coffins.
Oh my God.
Yeah, weird. But so we were still in the rehearsal space in the village hall where we'd always rehearsed, and it was just all about like just upping what we'd done with Moshkinstein and just kind of taking it to the next level. Also, I think the biggest difference between Moshkinstein and the Fear is Ramsey. You know, on Moshkinstein, it's like he's doing a great job, but on the Fear, it was like, and this did happen. It just clicked for him, where all of a sudden he was just like able to play a lot faster, and he was interpreting things differently to how he used to. And I think it took us to another level. And hence the album is, is very different to Moshkinstein. You know, there's big, long, complex songs, no keyboards, all of that. Okay. So yeah, so it was Ramsey kind of pushing us to the next level. And there's some like really bizarre time changes and stuff, going on in there. And that, again, that a lot of that was sort of driven by him. And yeah, it was bizarre because we actually got that album recorded. And it was like, it was done, it was in the can, and then we did it, and then we toured to support Moshkinstein. So it was like we'd already recorded because I would always think of Moshkinstein as the first album, despite the fact it was only a mini. So we were touring our first album with our second album already recorded. And then at the end of that tour, two members who were on the album we'd already finished, Gaz on guitar and Ian on bass, decided that, life on the road wasn't for them. So they left, and that's why the album comes out, with their names on it, but not them.
Okay. Yeah. So Obnoxious came out like a year later. So what did you go right into writing the next record?
Not really, no, because the Fear, we just never stopped writing, because we just carried on rehearsing all the time. So when we weren't on the road, all there is to do is write.
Yeah.
So we were just constantly churn. And of course we started recording Obnoxious on January the 1st. Oh, sorry, January the 1st, I think.
Oh wow.
January. Yeah. So it's like, or no, it must have been January the 2nd. We're not going to get anybody to start recording on New Year's Day. But yeah, but that tells you how much the industry has changed. We recorded in January, and the album came out last week in March.
Yeah. Wow.
Like fuck me, that's a turnaround.
Jesus.
Finished recording in January, album comes out end of March, and we're on the road, in April doing a fucking massive tour.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So yeah, it was so I've contradicted myself there. Yes, we just went straight into writing.
Yeah, there we go. Cool. So wow. That's wild. So if you don't mind me asking, what happened to the band in 91?
Well, Adam left when we were on the road touring the album. Then we decided we were going to stick as a 4-piece. But basically what happened was, on that tour, there is one of the dates is London, which is towards the bottom. It's actually April the 19th. Well, what happened was, before we put the album out, before we recorded the album, we recorded demos for the album, and we recorded demos of the whole of the Phantasm song. We recorded a demo of Creative Restraint and of Hanging on the Telephone. Well, the demo actually ended up being remixed, and that's what got released as a single. But so Hanging on the Telephone, Phantasm, and Creative Restraint, because our management was going over to the States, and they wanted to basically, they'd got a few meetings with a few people, a few labels in the States, and thought about, right, why don't we, go meet with these people and see if we can get Acid Rain a deal in the States, because Music for Nations in Europe had knew our management, and there was a little bit. Basically, there was a fallout between Music for Nations and Combat, both owned by Steve Sinclair. Combat and Music for Nations basically were the same label, but different sides of the pond. Music for Nations put everything out in Europe and the UK, Combat to the States. Music for Nations, Martin Hooker turned down Ludicrous for a UK and European release. And Ludicrous was a bit of a pet band of Steve Sinclair. So he refused a US release for Acid Rain. So they put Moshkinstein out, but The Fear never got released in the States. But the label did allow our management to shop for an independent release in the States. Great. And we got really good feedback. We were offered, basically our management were offered deals on the spot by two labels. One who felt that Hanging on the Telephone was potentially the first thrash metal band to get into a top 10. Really excited about it. Rather than jump the gun, he said, I want to go back with the finished album, which is going to sound even better. And, take it from there. Cool. So we go and record the album, we're touring, we're on the tour, we're in London at the Marquee, management come to the gig, and we have a meal in a pizza restaurant right next to the Marquee. I can remember it clear as day. And basically the management say that all the people they met with last time wouldn't even take a meeting this time because they're not interested, because you're a thrash band.
Wow.
It's done. So in the space of 3 months, they've gone from being massively excited, throwing deals at us, to can't even get a meeting.
Wow.
So,
damn.
So right there and then, I don't know, but I don't think anybody else in the band was thinking as I was, but I was thinking, well, that's that then. That because the future is now very small,
Damn.
because without a US release, you're not an international band. And if you're not an international, and also the fact that it was, thrash, which we all already knew in 1990, this ain't as popular as it used to be.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, it was kind of like that was that. And we plowed on as a 4-piece. The songs that are on the Worst of Acid Rain, like The Joke's on Us and 3 Year War, hello 3 Year War, we put out 3 albums out in 3 years. Ta-da. And The Joke's on Us. It's and the label heard them and were like, we don't really want to put these songs out. And we were like, we don't really want to be on the label either. And they're like, oh, right, okay. And then of course, to my previous story, months later found loads of old offcuts, and we ended up putting the Worst of out, and then but we toured at the end of 1990. We did the tour for the album, and it was packed every night, brilliant. And then we did a tour as a 4-piece in December of that year, and everywhere was just half the business.
Wow.
And it was just like, right, this is changing. This is not what it was. This is, and eventually, it was done. And the thing is, I've always said, if you are an intrinsic part of a scene, which we were, we were part of the UK Big Four, or as they're called in the States, the Microscopic Four, which is quite right. Quite right. That, when the scene goes down, you go down with it. And the thing is, for everything everybody wants to say about Metallica, they made sure they weren't part of a scene that was going down the plug hole. They'd already moved on. And that is and Justice for All, that's enough. We're done here. We can't take this any further. Let's pool our talents and do something else. which I still think is not just an incredibly smart move, but like business wise, but artistically, it's a brave and smart move as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, the scene, we went down with the ship basically. Jamie Jaster's fond of saying rising tide, a rising tide, rises all ships, something like that. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah. Also, when someone pulls the plug hole, when someone pulls the plug, you all go down the plug hole. And we quit. The following week, Sabbath announced that they'd split, and 2 weeks after that,
Wow.
Onslaught announced they'd split. So
Wow.
literally within like 4 or 5 weeks, 3 of the 4 had gone.
Damn.
So, yeah, such is life. That's
Yeah.
the way it is.
And there were a lot of other bands too, like Zentrix and Slammer, right?
Well,
Did they
Zentrix kept
just
going.
yeah.
Zentrix kept going. Slammer only ever put out one album, which was
Oh
on
yeah,
a
true.
major label, and then it was like, and then a couple of EPs, and then it was done for them as well. And Zentrix managed to carry on a little longer, and put some records out. Which, of course, if you tried to keep going, you had to be musically relevant, so you had to
And they
kind of
tried to
change.
experiment a little bit. Yeah.
You had to. Everybody was doing it. I mean, hello. Everybody goes on about what a great record American Way is. Everyone's forgotten about the last track. 31 flavors of absolute
Yeah.
bollocks.
Yeah.
And Phil's told
Yeah.
me that to my
Oh
face. I
God.
mean, it's just, yeah.
I can't believe that's a song.
Everybody was doing what they could to survive, man.
Yeah.
And not many did. And not many did.
Many bands didn't, and there's so many bands I'm a fan of who I'd love to talk to, but it's like they're far gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Laz Rocket, an example right there. They are so far gone, way
Yeah.
in the past.
Well, the thing about Laz Rocket was that they were the victims of their own originality.
Yeah, they were.
Because what happened was, hey, we've mixed kind of like traditional hard rock, heavy metal, and that kind of image, but we've mixed it with a kind of thrash production and thrashy elements. So now everyone hates us.
Yeah.
Because people into metal think we're too thrashy, and people into thrash don't think we're thrashy enough. So yeah.
There's stories of them getting like booed off stage and everything. It's like I'd love to that's like it's so interesting to me that like that band exists, especially in the Bay Area where all that came up. Like Metallica opened for them and stuff. Like, just
dude, you need to get Mark DeVito on your podcast, because I can put you in touch with him. He will give you the absolute chapter and verse on Laz Rocket. He knows them all, knew them all from the day, remembers Metallica supporting them, all the rest of it. They were the band that everybody wanted to be.
Yeah. We'll definitely after this podcast
I'll
we'll
send
be
you
in
his
touch.
details, man. Yeah.
Please do. That's awesome. Well, we're talking about all this, the 90s metal, thrash metal, kind of went to shit, but things come back around, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I was born in 98. Thrash metal's like my favorite genre. You go to all these shows, every thrash metal show I've seen in New England, half, if not more, the audience is closer to my age than people who grew up with the music. So there is definitely a scene for it again, and globally. And I feel like it's because of streaming, and that's how I even found Acid Rain, Zentrix, because it's like, you hit one band, it goes, you also might like all these guys, and then you go down a rabbit hole. So people like me who lives in Boston, I'm familiar with your music and history. So it's really cool. And that's what's awesome about this podcasting thing too. I don't have to, pay to be on the air and then pay for you to fly over.
Yeah. Oh, I know, mate. I know. It's like the world got that big. For listeners, I'm making the world very small. But you're absolutely right. But you know what? Whenever I have this conversation, I'm always keen to flag up a band to give them their due. And it's incredibly unfashionable to do this. But one of the reasons why you're into thrash metal is that it exists, and it wouldn't have existed, and it wouldn't be back as much in the public eye now if it weren't for, wait for it, not the band you're expecting, Machine Head.
What? Okay.
Because at the point Machine Head's first album comes out, you look at what all the other thrash bands that you can think of are doing, and it's a diluted version of what they used to do, or a different version, or some. I mean, for instance, the album, and I don't know what it is, but the album that Gene plays on in Testament, well, that album was recorded as another band. It's not supposed to be a fucking Testament album, but Steamhammer offered $50,000 to put it out as a Testament. Boom, you got a Testament record.
Wow.
But it was even written and recorded as a completely different band. So everybody was, Creator, Renewal, that's not a thrash record. Everybody was doing their little bits and pieces. And out of nowhere, Machine Head came out with that first album, and everybody just went, whoa, this is fucking awesome. This is amazing. And all of a sudden, Playing Fast Again was pretty cool. And yeah, this is kind of unapologetic. And, that kind of built a modern wave that started with Machine Head. And it's, love him or hate him, you can't ignore him. And you certainly can't not give Rob Flynn his props. Do I like everything Machine Head have done? No, and all the rest of it. But do you know what? I think that guy deserves a very, very large drink at the thrash metal bar. And everybody, including myself, owes that guy a big drink.
Wow, that's cool.
I
never thought. And Machine Head, yeah, that first record, very revolutionary.
It kills to this day. That absolutely kills.
I got to revisit that record. I haven't listened to that in forever. Oh my God. That's really cool to hear.
Well, the thing is, you can have a negative kind of view of Machine Head now as well, where it's like, well, the things that have happened, records that come out, all the rest of it. And you're going to go, I'm kind of done with that. I'm kind of away with that. That, and I'll go as far as to say second album as well kills. It's absolutely great. There's even songs on Supercharger, which are absolutely great. There's always 2 or 3 brilliant songs on a Machine Head record. It's just, unfortunately, sometimes there's 9 or 10 pieces of shit. But it's and as for the last album, it's fantastic. Return to form, great album, some great thrash metal on there. Unfortunately, just way too many long atmospheric intros. But you know what I mean. Yeah. Do you ever think Rob Flynn goes into the local deli, and he goes like, can I get a cannoli and some pastrami? All right, now.
That's just how he talks.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey,
phone
Rob,
calls.
Yeah. Hey, Rob, are you coming over on Tuesday? I haven't. I don't. Just yes or a no will do, Rob. A yes or a no.
Just put on another record, Rob.
Can you imagine Rob? Can you imagine Rob Flynn and Jonathan Davis trying to have a conversation?
Oh God!
It's just be grunts, noises.
Yeah, just cavemen, Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Oh, that's funny, man. Well, you guys do have a new record. Well, new. Your most recent record, I should say. And it has a lot of touches, a lot of mental health. Was this coming from the pandemic? Why was there such a focus on mental health?
Well, good spot. Well, it came out before the pandemic, so it certainly wasn't lockdown. But
okay, what year?
2019.
2019. Okay, yeah.
So it was the whole world tours cancelled. Like most other bands. Which was gutting, but there you go. So yeah, well, one of the singles that, you know, we released Plan of the Dam, which was like a comeback single, and then we released The Man Who Became Himself, and The Man Who Became Himself is me. And that song is all about my struggles with my mental health, which if I hadn't gone and sought help and got myself together, I'd never would have had the bandwidth to be able to put the band back together at all. And I wouldn't have wanted to. I wouldn't have had the energy or the inclination. But around sort of, yeah, probably about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit more, had a really bad time. And when it came to writing for lyrics for the Age of Entitlement, well, I mean, I just write lyrics all the time, and you know, whatever. So you know, it's never going to be right. I'm going to write an album, and I'm going to sit down. These are going to be the themes, and no, it's just like I just write all the time, and not all of those lyrics will get used. The ones that work with certain types of music, you know, the ones where I'll go like, for instance, I wrote the lyrics to The New Low while I was lying on a sofa waiting for the band to turn up to go and rehearse, and the song The New Low we hadn't finished it yet, and we went to rehearsal, and I literally was looking at the lyrics I'd written that morning and was thinking, like, this is perfect. These two were like hand in glove. These are going to work together. And I think probably the main reason is if you look at how old I was when I was writing for the first few albums, I was like, they came out in 88, 89 and 90 when I was 18, 19 and 20. And this album's coming out when I'm 49. And when you are in your 20s, it's all about you. And you write your opinions because you want everyone to know what your opinion is, because everyone needs to know what your opinion is, because your opinion is unique. And by the time you get into your 40s, you're writing about who you are and how you feel, as opposed to what you think and what you have opinions about. So it's yeah, it's you know, you write, as an older person, you write more about emotion and than when I was younger, when it was more, you know, it was opinions. That's it. It was opinions and society and, you know, and this and that. Whereas when you get older, it's about what's going on in your own head. And you get that out of your system. Other people identify with it because they recognize what you're saying and how you're feeling, because that's happened to them. And sometimes people, well, most of the time, people will just apply whatever the hell they want to your lyrics, and that's absolutely fine. I mean, the very last song on the album is called United Hates, and one review of the album even says, well, there's no need to ask what that song's about. Yes, because you're stupid and you think that because it's called United Hates, you think it's about the United States. Well done. You've substituted one letter for another and you've cracked the code. It's not about the US and it's not about politics at all in any fucking way. United hates are the hates that are united within myself. Self-hatred, hatred, and that are not good for you and create, you know, schism and, you know, stuff in your own head that you don't need. But hey, you know, people can look at, you know, interpret lyrics any way they like. That's absolutely fine. I'm always what's the word, flattered that people would take the time to actually apply a meaning to something that I've written, you know.
Yeah, that's really cool, and that's why that album stands out in your discography, because of the lyrics. You know, that's why
Oh,
when I
wow.
first listened to it, you know, it's like, wow, like there's a lot there. You can really dig into these lyrics. You know, if I really laid them out and looked at them, you know, compared to stuff in the like the 80s and 90s. You know, and that's what, as a listener, I really love. You know, and there's so many records like that came out after the pandemic. You know, people realizing like, oh, my mental health actually is awful, you know,
Yeah,
and I need
yeah. And
something to sing about. I'll do that. So you were you did that before Everyone
Well,
was doing it.
well, the irony being that when ultimately that's the last thing I want to do. I've got absolutely, on the next Acid Rain record, there will be nothing about lockdown and isolation and stuff like that. It's like, no, it's not happening. I'm not doing that. I don't need to, and I write the lyrics I need to write. I don't write the lyrics that I want to write or I think are going to work, or it's just literally, right, I'm in the mood. I've got 2 sentences in my head that rhyme that I really like, so I need to write those down. And if I'm in the mood, everything else will come as well. And I write everything in one session. I might go back the following day and look and change a couple of words, but that would be the most. But it's like they come out fully formed. Not really, because it's all bouncing about in the back of my head for weeks, days, months. I don't know how long, but it's like, once I start writing, it will come out, and there'll be bits and pieces, and I'll also remember phrases and stuff that I've got stashed in my like lyric cheat sheet, where I've put phrases, words, all sorts that I like, that mean something, or that I hear and think, I'll need that. That sounds good. I like that. I like that. My favorite one at the moment is, and this is not going to be a lyric, but my favorite phrase at the moment is that everybody absolutely, actually, no, I'm going to do podcast voice. So this is for you listeners and viewers. Okay. Everybody has 2 lifetimes. Everyone, even you listener, everybody has 2 lifetimes. And the second one begins the minute you realize you only have 1. I love that.
That's amazing.
I love that.
That's yeah.
It's just like, it's one of those where you think, oh God, here we go. Fridge magnet alert. What fucking, what bullshit. Oh yeah, I'm going to be able to buy that. I'm going to walk into a shop which will have beads. Yeah, because if you're going to buy shit like that printed on something, there will be beads in the doorway. But yeah,
Tapestries.
But you hear that thing, you hear that, and it's like, it just gets to that, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, right. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
No,
But
that is a great quote, man.
I've got to do it again. I've got to head out.
Yeah, well, I was just about to wrap this up. That was my last question. So,
okay, cool.
So we are both on the same waveligth here. It's very
absolutely,
nice.
Absolutely.
Well, Howard, thank you so much for doing this, man. This has been a ton of fun.
It's been, look, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure for me as well. It really has. It's great to talk comedy.
Always.
I always love the chance to talk comedy with you. So thank you so much for inviting me on and doing this. And I'll share the hell out of this. Also, ping me an email and remind me about Mark DeVito.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Thank you so much, Howard. I'm Brandon Battick, and this is Disturbing the Priest.